Right. Well, Happy New Year to everybody. What's going on?
Happy New Year,
Happy,
2023.
Happy New Year. How
All
y'all
right.
doing?
Man, we are already at the 8th day of January, 2023. So welcome to the 4-1 Sports World Show.
Mhm.
We are going to talk about Deion Sanders, his journey so far, decision to go to Colorado. We're going to discuss the effects of that decision. We'll give you our opinions of that decision. We'll give you the pros and cons of that decision. So we got a lot to talk about. And then the effects of HBCU, historically Black College University, the state of HBCU football and sports in general, and just on and off the field. So we're going to talk about all that. So just be ready. And we've got a nice panel today. And after this little brief jingle, we'll come back and introduce everybody to you. All right, here we go. All right, we're back already. All right, welcome to the show. As you can see, the young lady in the bottom right hand corner of the screen is Lacy Dawson, and she's out of the North Florida area. So welcome to the show, Lacy.
Thank you. Good to be here, Miss 411.
All right, all right. To her right, which would be my left, on if I'm looking at the screen, down at the bottom, there's Coy, former Furman University football star. What's going on, Coy?
What's up? What's up? What's up?
All right, and then on the top row, to my right, well, to my left, on technically, but Kowacie Reeves, founder of Hypesouth. It's a media outlet in Georgia, and they highlight the youth, the young athletes in the Georgia area with a concentration of the Middle Georgia area. So Hype South, and they're doing great work in the community. And what's up, Kowacie?
What's up, man? How you doing?
All right. And there's no need to not bring you on and not give a little more extra pop there
There you go.
for Hype South. There's the fire, and we definitely gonna be on fire today with the show. And so there's Hype South, and then just a little bit about Kowacie again, the founder. He's over the media. He writes and gives a lot of detail on players, highlights the athletes. Several of them have gone on to become college stars and stars in the communities as well. And so great job by Hype South Media.
Very nice. Mhm.
All right. So here we go. The title, if you're on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, you see it, it says Make It Make Sense.
I like it.
Yeah. So, I was just laying around one day and I was like, how can we get to this title? And I was like, you know what? It's a lot of talk about Coach Prime. I'm a huge Coach Prime fan. Growing up watching Deion uh, do his thing and try to go outside and do the same thing. After hits the interception, runs it back. We go outside and try to do that. Follow him all the way through his career. And it just this topic has just been burning. It's been back and forth. It's created a lot of conversations and everywhere, on and off the field. And so to me, it's finally hit me. Make it make sense. Let's make the Coach Prime um, journey make sense here. And so, especially with the decision for him to go to Colorado. All right, so that's what we're going to discuss today. So let's open up with, first of all, your thoughts on Coach Prime and the whole scenario. So we're going to start off with Wacy.
Yeah. For me, man, I like Coach Prime. As a player, I love him. One of my favorites. Think he's a great coach, great person, and any decision anybody makes is always their choice. So everything I got is just my opinion. That's all. But no, I think he's a great guy. I think he has great intentions. But I kind of can see both sides of the you know picture of this. From his perspective with some of the things I've heard about his departure and why he decided to leave, and but I just also heard some of the stuff he was saying prior to when he was coming. So and one thing I know about Prime, man, he got the gift of gab, man. He can make people he could talk and make people believe stuff. You know what I'm saying? And see it his way. And so for me, the only issue I had with the departure was like, first of all, it just seems on the surface like it was just so abrupt. And when he came in, he was talking a lot about, the HBCU culture. It wasn't just about football, even though that was at the forefront because he's the football coach. But he was mostly talking about, how he wanted to come in and help change the perception and the culture and stuff like this. And so a lot of the issues that I'm hearing, I never really heard him say it. I think he's kind of alluded to it with some of the issues as far as like finances and just resources and stuff in general at HBCUs. Those were issues before he got there. So my thing is, if you knew this coming in the door, for me, don't leave when the fight get hard. You say you won't come to fight. You want to change. You can't change something in 2 years or 3 years, however many years he was there. To me, that's just the beginning. And so, I once I took a step back and looked at it, I'm like, was he really here for what he was saying he was here for, or was he here trying to get to where he at now? You know what I'm saying? Because some people in my circle were saying, I don't see how you get mad when somebody gonna better themselves and all that. Well, that man himself said it wasn't about the money. He was there for the cause. And so just make me scratch my head when I see how it all ended. And it makes me look in hindsight. I think he interviewed for 1 or 2 Power 5 jobs before coming to Jackson, and he didn't get them. So almost make me look back and say, dang, was he really using that as a stepping stone?
Good points. Very good points there, Wacy, and you just opened up some doors for more conversation there. And so just to touch on a couple of things that Wacy was talking about here is that, and for those who may not know, but Deion Sanders accepted the job at Jackson State University, a historically black college university, and his mission statement was to level the playing field for HBCU sports, and use an example of, top elite players can now choose historically black colleges and universities as their choice to participate in versus the PWI. And you'll hear that term a lot, which stands for predominantly white institutions. And so his mission was to level the playing field. And prior to that, as Kowacie mentioned, Coach Prime did interview at a couple of predominantly white institutions, Power 5, trying to get a job there. So with that said, there was a lot of excitement behind the Coach Prime mission to level out the playing field, to change the game. And eventually he 2.5 years later, he took a job from a PWI, and that's the University of Colorado in Boulder, Colorado. And I think that's his first major offer since being at Jackson State. And so he took the very first offer. So there's a lot of back and forth about that. And so you already heard from Kowacie on that. We'll wait for Corey to get back on. We're trying to get him lined in. So Lacy, you can take it from here.
Well, I feel like that Kowacie and I are on similar wavelengths as far as Coach Prime goes. Honestly, I didn't know that he had interviewed for some positions that he didn't get before he accepted the Jackson State offer. I was not aware of that. So does anybody know which schools those were that turned him down?
I know he was interested in Florida State, his alma mater, and
they said no.
Well, I think they didn't want him as a head coach, but they would let him be like a position coach, and I remember him kind of taking that as an insult.
Okay.
Yeah, and TCU was TCU prior to, or
well, initially he wanted to. Texas Christian was one of the schools. Corey, are you back? I was trying to make sure you're
Yes,
in there.
sir. Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
The TCU deal was actually the last year going into this season, and they actually wanted to fire the coach they got. Well, they were trying to get rid of they were seriously considering firing the coach they have and actually replace him with Prime. So
Okay.
Okay, but they didn't.
They're playing for the
They did
national
not.
championship.
I
I mean,
mean, I feel like they did. They made the right choice.
yeah, it's kind of When it all comes down to it, they're playing for the national championship.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother animal when it comes to college football. They tend to don't give coaches time to actually build a program anymore.
Mhm. So I'm just wondering because I heard
Take the
about
kid.
the God called him and he had to. God called him collect and he accepted the charges and did all of that happen before or after he got turned down for those other jobs? I'm not 100% sure about the time. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I got turned down at these levels, so these people made an offer, and so in order to save face, he brings God into the conversation. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, they turned you down. Jackson State said we'll give you $300,000, and he said yes. So, but God called him that time. You know what I mean? It's like it makes me wonder, like right from the beginning, if this isn't all just some kind of a stunt. You know, I
Well,
honestly,
you gotta look at it from the standpoint of sometimes we get caught up in the movement and not really.
what's that?
Let's say it again, Corey. All right, we'll get him back here in a second.
Yeah, I'm
I
really
think he was
interested.
saying that we, in general, maybe some of us get caught up in the movement and maybe not the reality of what Deion is actually trying to do. But we'll let him speak for himself on that.
Okay.
But go back to what you were saying, Lacey, and then we'll
I'm
get Corey
just
back.
saying, like have that's brand new information to me, and it just makes me call into question everything because I didn't realize that was the situation. You look like you wanted to say something, Kowacie. Did you?
Oh no. Go. You can go ahead.
Okay, yeah, it's like so. I was looking at what he was doing, and I was thinking, like, good for you, hurrah! This is a man on a mission, and I was excited about it. I had finally heard about Jackson State, and he made a lot of statements about things that he wanted to do. When you're talking about leveling the playing field, it wasn't supposed to be just about Jackson State. When his mission was a blanket HBCU, like uplifting the whole darn HBCU community so that it gets the kind of national attention that other schools get without a lot of effort. And so that when you talk about he was wanting equality and he was wanting to get players drafted into the NFL and his mission was accomplished. And I'm like, when did that happen? Because as far as I know, we're still waiting for it. I looked it up just to be sure, and it seems like there was one player. His name is James Houston. He was drafted into the NFL by Detroit in 2022. However, he transferred back to Jackson State after having been at Florida for 3 years. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I feel like he probably was getting some kind of attention before he got to Jackson State, and making the transfer to Jackson State brought more attention to him. So, you can't really take credit for that one. So like if
Right.
you can't take credit for him, then what are you taking credit for?
And see, when Corey was talking about, he hit on the movement. And I think why people got caught up so much on the movement because of the timing. If you remember,
Exactly.
Deion was taking a job and being linked and saying all this stuff he was saying right around the George Floyd thing, right?
Right.
And
Exactly.
so, the black community was heavy into, let's send our kids to HBCUs this and blah, 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 that. And so Deion kind of fed that narrative
Yes.
with what he was selling. And
Right.
so of course, when you sell that, people are going to, gravitate toward that and they're going to get caught up in it.
Uh-huh.
And so 3 years removed from that, all of a sudden, the tune has changed and you don't, God has now called you, as you would say, to do something else. It kind of leaves, people scratching their heads and disappointed. And to me, and I don't think it's, I can see their point, I can see their side and I can see Coach Prime's side, but at the same time, he has to take some kind of responsibility for making people feel that way. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? He
But
acting like he ain't did.
yes, but what I was gonna say, people got caught into the movement. But if you look at Prime and you look at the man, what has he always done? It's always been about the brand for Prime, from the point of showing up at the draft in a limo, or the point of running up in the combines and jumping out of a limo. It's all about his brand. So, like I said, we can get caught into the movement because it makes us feel good, but we look at his resume and his track record. Prime's gonna do what's good for Prime.
Yeah, well, that like I said, that was from a individual standpoint while he was playing. This was our first time seeing him as a coach, and so
Yeah, but ever since he left playing, it's been about his brand.
Well,
I
he's
mean,
never not been about that.
Say it again. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, he's never not been about that. That's true. But he stated that he had a higher purpose. And so, people really shouldn't lie about higher purposes and God and things like that. If it's not true, then fine, don't say it. But you putting yourself on a whole different level from anybody else who's coaching, from anybody else who's out there just earning a living. You're putting yourself on a whole different level. You're bringing a whole lot of national attention to what you're doing at this university. You're supposed to be spreading it around. It's like I don't know if other schools got any extra funding because of Coach Prime. He wasn't there long enough to facilitate that kind of conversation. You know what I mean? He's not showing any longevity in this. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you got a very small sample size. I don't know what the rest of it would have looked like, but he was getting people like Walmart and the American Airlines and other celebrities to donate, to participate, to pay attention, and then to just drop all of that, in the middle of the fight. It's like, okay, I'm going to take my ball and go home now because I feel like I'm not going to get paid enough here. Like now it's about money. It wasn't about money before. It doesn't even have to be about money now. If he took the first offer and it was $5 million, it's like, I don't know what his predecessor got. I don't. But I bet he got more. Deion's getting more than he expected. But I mean, you don't take the first offer no matter who you are.
His predecessors actually made less money.
Okay.
He's actually a bigger name than the last three they had there. So.
Okay. All right. I'll take your word.
For me, when he says, like after he said his little press conference, he says stuff like, well, I didn't come here to die here and stuff like that, which is cool, which is his prerogative. But my thing is, like, say that from the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Say that from the start. Don't just be, be upfront with, to me, in my opinion, what looks like your plan all along. Be that. I'm here. We're gonna turn this thing around from a football standpoint and blah blah blah. And if people start coming around, I'm gonna entertain this and that, whatever the case may be. But use the George Floyd. I'm telling you, around this is what happened. The George Floyd, it was tensions were high. Black people were, all up in a rage and stuff about how it happened, and all of a sudden, Black Lives Matter, all of this stuff. He piggybacked on that, man, and I think that he just the timing of it was perfect for him, and then when he said, "I gave you the recipe," like the next guy who comes behind him, I gave you the recipe. Well, everybody ain't you. Everybody can't pick up the phone.
Right. Exactly.
Certain calls and get certain resources that you could get. So I think that's a little misleading.
Recipe, but he was only halfway through the meal. It's like, okay, I have a recipe, but I don't know what, you know what I mean? It's like, you didn't finish. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Corey.
What's that?
Corey.
Are you disguising your voice?
No, that's Corey. Hold on, Corey.
He must be about to say something stupid.
It seems like you got a good perspective. I want to hear what
we're gonna get him back in here. We'll get him back in here.
Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah, maybe you got bad connection. Look like.
Yeah, we'll get him right back in here. But just in the meantime, there's some good points that you all have made. And it's like the picture was set one way. And it wasn't about just being on the field or just the player, in general. it was about changing a culture.
Right.
And when you're going to dive into something like that,
Right.
changing the culture doesn't happen overnight. It may take 5 to 10 years, who knows? But if that's what you're selling it on, then that's what people expect. And I just feel like within the community, and everybody has the right to have their own, take on things, but we have a divide just amongst that. And it's like, it's not that no one doesn't like Deion, because I'm one of the biggest fans ever of him. But at the same time, I could be critical of Deion, and and there's nothing wrong with that. Especially when you sell it the way you sell it. And so it's, when you say you're changing the community landscape, and I give you an example, Isaiah Land, he's a NFL ready football player, FAMU, plays at Florida A&M, and he, leading into this past season, he wanted to no longer attend HBCU, and he was going to put his name out there in the portal and try to land in a Power 5 conference, because he felt like that would be the best move for him. But Coach Prime at that time encouraged him publicly to not do that. He said, "You was here with Coach Willie Simmons at FAMU, finish it out there, and you'll be fine." And he encouraged that. And so, it may not be just because he said that, but he did not go. And so he did finish his season at FAMU, and he will go to the NFL. So those are the type of things, when you talk about changing the landscape and stuff, to me, that's good. I mean, he encouraged players to stay. But then to turn around the next season and leave yourself is like, whoa, wait a minute now. Saying that doesn't look too good.
Yeah, he does a lot of double talk. That's why I said earlier, like when I started, like he has a gift of gab, because like even in his interviews after leaving, he would hint at all of these things about why the HBCU, for him, some things that might have pushed him out of the door. And then you'll see 5 minutes later, he's in there telling some of the kids, don't leave, y'all stay. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, you leave it like for X, Y, and Z, but you telling us to stay in a situation that wasn't good enough for you. And so it's like, come on, coach. Like, and then everybody said, well, he knows that every kid that's playing there can't go Power 5. Well, who said that when you go into the portal, you're trying to go to Power 5? Like, you could go into the portal to go maybe the same level.
Maybe you go to another HBCU. Yeah.
So it ain't like they're trying to leave there to automatically go to UGA or something. But if you're telling me at Jackson State that the culture or the climate ain't good enough for you to stay, then don't tell me to stay. That's why I kind of say, like, man, that's kind of contradictory of him.
That's what makes him sell out. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna try again with Coy. I know he's doing his best to be on, so we'll get him back in here. But yeah, that's the thing. It's just like, you're saying one thing, doing another, and also telling the team when he did accept the job at Colorado, he said in the game, in this game, you either elevate or get terminated. And when you say elevate, now you're saying that, again, the playing field, we already knew the playing field was not level. And so, you're telling everybody that the playing field is not level, and so I'm leaving. And that's not why you said you was coming. And so it's just contradictory. And then it's like, terminate. Well, I don't see Jackson State terminating Deion Sanders anytime soon, unless he does something illegal. You know what I'm saying? So,
and then he'll get away.
Right. So to say that again, and then it's like, you're just spinning the story, and then the story got spent again, because now it's there's only 4 black coaches at the Power 5 level. And so, what, you're going to be the 5th coach, and that's going to change something, especially when.
Power 5? What is that?
Well, that's the quote unquote, the big schools, the PWI. Well, the Power 5s at the quote unquote higher levels. So, but that's where the big money is and everything's, like that. So, and the big TV deals and all that. So, at that particular level at this time, that's what he was talking about. And so there's not many black coaches at that level, head coaches. And so he was going to go from 4 to 5 or something like that. And also Colorado has hired a couple of black coaches and fired a couple of them. So he was going to go in and make that change. But in comparison to what the mission is for changing the HBCU landscape, that's not really doing much. You know what I'm saying? So it seemed like the story was getting changed on the fly. But go ahead.
In my opinion, he's hurt their cause by ditching them the way he did.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't even know where to start with that. It's like you abandon them midship. I mean, it's like you're in the middle of the cruise and the captain just jumps off and is like, "See ya." And what are you supposed to think? Like if you're at the HBCU that he's abandoned, if you went there because of him and he's gone.
Yes, I'm telling you.
Yeah, go ahead, Clay.
Yeah. I agree. I honestly agree with that. At first the narrative was, especially when it came to the student athletes, was, these 4 and 5 star black kids need to consider HBCU. But then now he leaves, and not only does he leave, he takes the 4 and 5 stars with him.
Mm-hmm.
So like, no 4 and 5 stars are gonna come there now. They're gonna have the pretty facilities and all of the stuff that he helped them get, but it's gonna be for those same caliber players that were going before he got there. Yep.
Hey, Corey, are you back? Corey? Okay. We'll try to.
But yeah, so
we're gonna keep working at that.
Yeah, but like I said, and I wish him luck, and I think he'll do well. But I'm gonna say this too. I don't think Colorado was the only offer he had. I think that was a strategic pick, based on the level of the conference, the competition level of the conference. I believe Georgia Tech reached out. I don't have any confirmation, but I kind of heard some rumors on that. And we all know Deion say Atlanta is his city. He built Atlanta. But I just feel like it's he can win the recruiting war in that conference more so than going to an ACC or SEC. So I think it was very strategic in Colorado. I think he went out there knowing that, hey, let me go out here first and see, can I bring these dogs, as he called them, or Louis, this Louis Vuitton luggage with me, and he'll have a better chance of winning that conference
for sure
than the ACC or SEC. So that was strategic.
For sure.
But not only that, Wasey, but he'll be able to improve from the 1 win total that Colorado had the previous year. So so if you win 5 games, you improved it, 5 times already. You know what I'm saying? So that, and then
players from Jackson State. I mean,
No.
And don't forget that USC and UCLA are going to be leaving the Pac-12 soon as well.
That actually hurts. That actually hurts him. But no. They didn't bring him in there to win 5 games.
No, I'm saying that this first year that'll be a major improvement from the 1 win.
It ain't about a major improvement. They did not bring that man in there for 5 games.
What they brought it for?
They got this delusion of grandeur that he's going to come in there and make Colorado the same Colorado Buffalo team that was under McCarthy. That is why they got him there. Now, honestly, if you want to look at it from the standpoint of jobs, that was a bad job for Prime to take. One, you got to look at it in terms of how many 4 and 5 stars actually came out of Colorado in the last 10 years. I think me and TJ looked at it, it was like maybe 4 total.
Yeah, if that,
Two. Deion made his bones in. He played in Alabama, he played in Atlanta, but he lived in Texas and in Florida. So now he's got to convince a bunch of kids from Texas and Florida, because that's where he's going to recruit the heaviest at in the South, and figure out how to get them out there out to Colorado.
He's already convinced a couple of them.
He convinced a couple of them off of the whole limelight of prime time in Jackson State. Next year, They go out there and go whatever and 5 and whatever and losing game. You're only going to get so many times because these kids are not.
Right.
They're going to look at it like I don't care who you are. You're not. You're not it. Right now he's riding the wave of Jackson.
Now he got to give the gab. He'll get them out there, and then he knows that he don't need as many as UGA and Alabama in that conference to win at a high level.
Yeah.
And so he's gonna get kids in there. He's gonna get them in there, and they're gonna win some games in that conference. That's why I said it was a strategic pick, because he knows that if I just get a couple of dogs at this position, that we can run this conference. And so I believe he'll win. I believe he'll get kids in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're already starting to see it.
You say so. Colorado's not a good program.
Okay.
No, they're not. But Travis Hunter and some of those other guys are already starting to follow him, man. And I'm telling you, like, he'll turn it around and he'll win games in that conference because it's not very, very good.
It's not about winning games. Well, he win the game conference. That alumni brought him in there so that they can compete for national championships like they did in the late 90s. That's what you got to understand.
Yeah, so we're referring to that's the long term, right? I mean, next season.
You don't get long. I say it again. You don't get long term goals in college football anymore.
Okay,
this is not important. You got about 2.5, maybe 3 seasons to prove these people.
And that's what I meant. And that's what I meant by the long term. I meant like not just one season. There's got to be some sort of shelf life. So we're agreeing that it's going to be at least 3 seasons as the shelf life. Is the time frame?
Because usually it takes about 6 seasons to get your seniors in there and to get the kids you recruited start flowing through your program. You'll get most of the time they'll get lucky and get one good season to buy them time. Even when Saban went to Alabama, it wasn't the first couple of years. It was the 3rd or 4th year that he started becoming competitive, and they gave him that other year because of that national championship he won at LSU. So
that's the old days. The landscape has changed with the transfer portal stuff where Nick Saban, these kids can come play immediately, right?
They can come play immediately, but you're a basketball coach, right? You still got to, even though you can get all the 5 stars you want to, you got to find that balance between meshing your talent. That's what I'm talking about. So you can get all the dogs you want to, but that talent don't mesh, it don't mean anything.
Right. But you got a better chance of it meshing with if you got talent. I think Deion proved at Jackson State. I think he proved there that once you get your and you can get and go back to your system, you can get your system in place. It don't take 6 years to get your system in place now. You can get your guys and your system in place within a year with the new rules and all this stuff. So I don't think his process is going to take long term like what you're thinking. 2 years at the most, but I think you'll start to see it year 1.
Now, I'm going to say this. What Deion did at Jackson State was he brought in a staff that was superior to every team that he played against. And whereas he were in the game, in the pool that he's swimming in now, he's competing against that same level of coaching staffs.
Right. But did he bring a guy in from Alabama, defensive coordinator that was at Alabama, offensive something?
I mean, yes, he did. But what I'm saying is, there's a whole bunch of defensive coordinators at Alabama, Ohio State, or whatever in Power 5 ball.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, the staff that he put together at Jackson State versus the other staffs he played against was superior because of his name and his coaching ties.
Yeah.
But when you go to these state schools, like I told, me and Tyrone had a conversation. I said, Elon Musk is a billionaire, right? The state of Georgia writes almost $10 billion to $50 billion checks every year. You see what I'm getting? My point is, when you have that type of money backing you, it's all these state schools running around here. It's not. You don't have that luxury of being able to buy the best of the best like you did when you was in the SWAC. So you're going to actually have to compete. It's a little bit different when you compete.
But he definitely had a head start when he went to the SWAC because he was able to pull NFL coaches. You know, he pulled Zimmer down from they used to be the coach for the Vikings. They come down and be the offensive analyst of the team and things like that. And to me, that's spinning it back to leveling the playing field. See, that type of thinking, those type of moves, connections, that was the type of things that were going to make uh, playing for an HBCU team intriguing. You know what I mean? Because we are, I'm gonna say we, because I'm African American as well, but HBCU, you know, has been behind the eight ball since the days of my parents, right? Because when my parents were at South Carolina State, Donnie Shell, Harry Carson, guys like that were playing at an HBCU. You talking about Hall of Fame players. Like that was not, uncommon. And so as you fast forward through all the years now, like, X amount of decades later, that playing field is decimated. So, you have to have people like a Sanders, people of influence to kind of do things in a different way when you can't catch up yet financially with other leagues and stuff.
Now let me ask you this, Tyrone.
Yes, sir.
You just named Donnie Shell and
Harry Carson,
right?
Yeah,
that's two.
Yeah.
The what you're going to find out is every generation has a couple of players from HBCUs that actually went into the Hall of Fame that are kind of the greatest of the great. But what about the other kids that we don't know about on those teams that aren't Hall of Famers? You see
but they're also great. But they're also excellent players too.
I'm not saying they're not excellent players. What I'm trying to tell you is the percentage of Hall of Famers back then is not much different than the percentage of Hall of Famers from our generation either. It's just wax. We wax poetic about how many there were because all of them didn't go there. Because anytime you hear the word Hall of Famer, that means that they also played in the integrated NFL. All these things changed around the same time.
I guess what I'm saying is like when you look at players that went to the Hall of Fame, for the most part, you're looking at like, for example, Grambling has the most Hall of Famers in the NFL to this date. And I don't think any Hall of Famers from the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 20s are from there. It's from going back in the day. So I guess my point is that when the 5 and 4 stars, it was common for them to play in HBCUs. That's what you was getting as a result. And that's not what we've had over the last 40 years or so, 40 plus years, is that the top level players, they're not playing at HBCUs for whatever the reason is.
Well, and I think, man, I think it starts at the top because like people, and like I said, I'm transparent in this. I don't really have a side, so to speak. But I tell you, like I'm gonna just say from the basketball side, and it kind of correlates with Deion. All these people always preach about going to HBCU and sticking to your culture and this, that, and the other. But at the same time, like, with my son, when he was going through his recruiting, HBCU never offered, right? And then those same HBCU people who are saying this stuff are constantly looking to go PWI, similar to what Deion just did. So it's like you want us to come to HBCU, but you're looking to leave. Like I've never understood that. I've never understood. Do you think Nick Saban will leave Alabama and go to Grambling?
Nope.
But see, let's be honest though. Do you think Nick Saban will leave Michigan State to go to Alabama?
So what now?
Do you think Nick Saban will leave Michigan State to go to Alabama?
Yeah, he did that, right?
He went to LSU. My point being is, we can't pin it on HBCUs when all coaches are always out there about themselves and they're always out there for the better job. There's very few Eddie Robinsons. There's very few the guy that was at Temple for all those years. There's very few guys like that. Most of these guys are always out there looking for the better job. That's the truth. Name one that hasn't.
That's a good point, Corey. But I think that's where the Deion Sanders leveling the playing field comes into play. Is that now if the better job could be when is the better job going to be an HBCU opportunity? You know what I'm saying?
That goes back
that's two different things. That's right. To me, that's two different things.
It's a twofold thing. Yes, they have to have a brand that's winning. but also they have to have the funds to produce that winning brand. Now,
Oh, I think Lacy
Go ahead.
want to say something after you,
go
Clay.
ahead. Go ahead.
For me, like to me, that's the cop out right there. When they start, and that's just my opinion. Like Deion is a perfect example. The resources and all of that stuff from him, like the money ain't an issue. I'm not worried about the money. I want to come here to see can I change this culture, right? Because he said I'm already rich. So don't when you leave say the resources or this or
It has
that.
nothing to do with Deion. It has nothing to do with the resources. The reason why I don't have as much problem with Deion is because the man has always shown us what he was, and I knew this was coming. If you want, Tyrone can tell you exactly what I said. If
You
Deion
thought
goes,
he should be commissioner.
I didn't say that. You're a lie and a half. I said
Hey,
if Deion, that's right. Bring the tape. I said if Deion is there to do what he says he do, that's
I'll
one
burn
thing.
that tape then.
But his track record is that Deion always looks out for Deion. Is it right or wrong? I don't know, but it's the truth.
I listen. Look out for Deion. Do that, right? But don't be say that. Just be upfront. Like we've always known Deion gonna look out for Deion because he's always said it. I'm prime, I'm this and that. But this time he said something different, right? He didn't
But he's
say
still the same dude.
He brought God into it, man. Come on.
yeah.
Man, how many whatever got mistresses and babies and touching little boys? I mean, really?
Okay, but
you're talking from a different realm though. When all about Deion is when it was like in his playing career. Like when you start coaching kids and you coaching, you go into people's living rooms and you recruit families and all of this stuff.
right.
Then that's
You know
different.
how to get to them.
That's
Because you're one of them.
Yeah, that's
You
kind
start
of different.
bringing God into it. They're gonna their mamas and their aunties and all of them.
Because he's
well, you gotta do, you know.
Because he's folksy and he's easy to connect to.
You trusted him.
Yeah, because he's easy to connect to. Most of the time, most salesmen make you feel good before you make major purchase.
God.
I'll give you an example. They're like, for instance, what we ain't talked about is the fact that you take Reggie Theus.
Yep.
Nobody pays him any attention. And in the scales of what you're trying to do and done, he's actually probably more of doing more as far as putting his money where his mouth is than any other one. But he's not the personality of a Deion. He's not the one that is in your face. But we're not giving that brother at Bethune the same amount of eyes and the same amount of support that we gave this other guy that left.
He don't have the influence to change a culture like Deion. Like Reggie Theus is good. And what he's doing is a great thing. But Deion gave entire ethnicity hope.
Here's the thing that I look at. See, first of all, we have a bad habit of putting all the hopes in one figure. But here's the thing that this is what Deion did.
We'll come back to that.
Deion has the one thing he did was now he's created an environment or he's shown an environment that others that it ain't about Deion, it's about who comes after him that's going to build whatever's going to be built. It is now a option for these guys, whether you like it, the fact that they want to use it as a stepping stone or they want to get into the coaching. But the thing about it is now this is considered an option. And what's going to happen, you're going to get other young coaches that aren't getting those chances in other places that are going to come under these programs, and the quality of coaching and the quality of other stuff there will eventually get better. And then you'll build out from there because it's been proven that it can happen. That's the only thing that really Prime done. And that's the only thing we can just successful in his whole process. He's proven that it can happen. Now that it can happen, there's no reason why it won't happen again.
And nothing wrong with that, but that's not what he sold. You see what I'm saying? Like that's what happened. And that's cool. You're taking you're taking what has happened. I get that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not what Deion was selling. We're saying, okay,
Mr.
this
411.
this is what happened. We're just gonna be accepting of that. Better be glad that happened. Just be
No,
glad
I'm
that he
accepting.
came over here.
I'm not glad at
No,
anything.
I'm not saying you. I'm saying
I'm
in
just saying,
general.
I've been to a strip club. I've been sold dreams before too. It is what it is. Get over it. Once the lights come on, you go. It is what it is. You got
That's not
sold a dream. Stop feeling so
okay.
jilted. It is what
I'm
it
gonna let
is.
you finish. I'm gonna finish.
Either you can stay here and worry and whine about what Dion prime, or we can move on because obviously he ain't it. Now,
Okay.
the honest question to me is, would you want him back? After everything that he's done, would you take him back?
You can't get him back. So that's not
I
that's
think
not
No. I asked the question. I ain't asked what you can or cannot do. I asked a question. Yes or no?
I'm like this. You fooled me once. Same on you. Fooled me twice. Same on me. So no.
That's my feelings about it. I'm moving on.
Okay. Now.
Well, we're gonna move on, but like I said, we still can address the the
Exactly.
problem.
That's the point.
So for me, it's easy for us to say, oh, don't feel like that. Or you just got to move on. But what about the kid who you just came and recruited and then told his grandmama, the kid who daddy and mama might have passed away, and now he only living with his grandmama, and you telling
Let me
him and his
ask you
grandmama.
something. Let me ask you. Don't you? I feel bad about that every time. I've always felt. That's why I'm not a big. That's why I'm never going to be against the transfer portal because these coaches. This is what they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Across the board. Even before
Mm-hmm.
prime, I always thought it was some shady business and it's some bullshit that they do that, right?
Right.
But you're more into the recruiting thing than me and TJ ever be.
Mhm.
You know as well as we know. They do
Right.
this to these kids in high school when they recruit them. What happens
Right.
is this kid gets recruited. They can't
Mhm.
get the kid they want. They get ready to offer this kid something. All of a sudden, the kid they want come available. You ain't got a scholarship, son. Figure it out. Right or wrong.
Oh yeah.
So
Absolutely.
this is the culture. It's the culture of sports in America. Well, period, is a dirty, low down game.
Right. But we, I'm just saying for me, I'm big on my word. I'm big on that.
You expect more from one of your own, and it's a bigger disappointment when they disappoint. Correct?
Right. That's it.
Got you. But he is what he is, and he's always been that.
okay. Is it my turn yet?
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Please, I've been patiently waiting. And I
Yeah.
just want to point out a couple of things. Deion Sanders could have stayed at Jackson State and won was it the SWAC,
Yep.
Southwest Atlantic
Athletic.
Conference? He could have won that for the next 30 years, and it would be good for them and good for him and good luck. The problem is that Dion went too far, and he started recruiting people that the big schools wanted. You know what I'm saying? So
No,
they
no, 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 no. We're gonna stop you on that because we if you're gonna run a program, that's one of my biggest problems. You recruit the best out there. You don't limit your aspiration on where you or who you
okay,
are.
if you would let me continue, I'll get there. Okay.
Okay.
But he had the kind of star power and gift of gab, as you said, to recruit these people that other schools might have wanted. So, what do you think the greater collective of the people who are running all of this said to each other? They said, I'm not saying any specific person. They got together and said, how do we make this situation go away? How do we neutralize the threat of Dion? What you do is somebody makes him an offer at some school that nobody really cares about. It doesn't matter if he wins or loses, as long as he goes away and he stops HBCUs from recruiting these people. So what Dion promised to do was build a house, and in the middle of the build, he burnt it down. You know what I mean? It's like you're making it harder for the next kid, for the next coach, for the next recruit, for anybody. You're making it harder for HBCUs than it was before you started. You lifted them up and then you dropped them, and you did it because not understanding that the greater collective said the best way to make this person go away is to just throw some money at him. It's insignificant money to them. Maybe it's a lot to him. It's a lot to me or to reasonable people. But I'm just saying They knew how to make him go away and shut him up, and and that's what they did. That's what really kind of hurts my heart because he let them use him as the vehicle to destroy whatever progress he had made. He had to burn it down in order for it to be destroyed like it is now. You know what I mean? It's like who's gonna want to go?
Whoa. Why is it destroyed? Why is it the end all be all is in with Deion? Fuck Deion. Shit.
He was
Fuck
bringing
him. I mean, that's my first. This dude is not a damn messiah. He's just a dude that played football and was good at it. Fuck him.
Attention.
But how much attention did HBCUs get prior to? Did they get the kind of attention they got prior to Deion?
I don't disagree. But I will tell you, now that you got the attention, it's up to you to try to figure out ways to keep it. I'm sorry, he's God. You got the attention. You got the spotlight. Okay. We haven't even come to the point that Ed Reed decided to go into the coaching game.
So we still got more time. We still got more time.
So that's the byproduct of Deion and the bullshit he did. A better football mind and as good of an athlete and someone who can guide them kids just as well. He may not be as more personal. It's jumped into the game.
But it's strength in numbers. Imagine if Deion stays at Jackson, Ed Reed's at Bethune, I think it is. Then you got Eddie George at State.
That's my point. But you look at it like this: after this happens, another will come. Because once Prime is proven that you can get this to move on to the next position, because what they've been telling these guys is you're a great athlete, you're this, and you always hear the cliche thing: great athletes can't make good coaches. You've heard that, haven't you?
But you know
that's
It's not about his athleticism. This is a business.
No, it's about being racist. That statement in itself is actually racially motivated because it goes back to the dumb black job narrative.
No.
The great athlete can't be a coach because quote unquote he's so good he can't talk to the plain people. That's the most bullshit ever. If you know the game and you know how to explain the game, you can coach the game.
There's a lot of athletes that are coaching.
Yes, there are, but you always hear that's one of the narratives they've always said when it came to Michael, when it came to a lot of them, but you never saw that when it came to the other larger group. So,
okay. But one second, let's go back to Wacy. He was about to say something about, I think, towards your comment, Corey, about Ed Reed, and I think he was about to say something after that. What was that?
Before I get that, but before I get to that point, I don't think Larry Bird was a good coach. But anyway,
no, he wasn't. He wasn't. I don't necessarily think it's true of all, but
so I don't think that was racially motivated. I think that was just. I think they're saying, the cliche of great athletes not being great coaches. That's not just for blacks. You know what I'm saying?
No, but we're always the ones that get caught up in that comment.
Well, especially when it comes to quarterback. But go ahead.
Exactly.
But no. The Ed Reed thing. The thing I was saying about that is, I think the effect of what Deion showed that can be done, I think that lured guys like Ed Reed. Mm-hmm. And like I said, you already have guys in place as well, like Eddie George. But I'm saying it's strengthened those numbers, right? So imagine if you get a collective group of Deion, Ed Reed, Eddie George. Who knows? Now you may even motivate Ray Lewis to go to Grambling or somewhere. So now what you're doing now is you're building that HBC, the culture. Now it ain't just Jackson State no more. Now it's Bethune, and you know what I'm saying. And I think that would have been a trickle down effect. So to me, you can still do it, but it's just like the Bulls when Jordan left. Yeah, Jordan gave you the recipe. Scottie Pippen, but it ain't the same because Jordan ain't there. You know what I'm saying? It's that kind of effect. It's that kind of effect. So. We're not saying Deion is God, but he was doing a good job and doing some stuff, and it was slowly but surely starting to happen. And like she said, you abandoned the ship, man. You abandoned the ship.
And I'm gonna tell you that Negro was what he was when he got on the ship. I mean, what y'all cannot deny the man is who he is. That's why I guess it ain't that I'm picking a side on it. I'm just saying people are who you are.
Jonathan Bernard, who's wrong? Who's wrong, Jonathan Bernard? But go ahead, Corey.
I'm just saying people are who they are. I've learned a long time ago. You can't make everybody out to be the front of your movement, even if you like them. It's just that's what's going to happen.
I'm
Well,
just,
I mean, going back, let's go back to the Reggie Theus. And for those who don't know, Reggie Theus was a excellent basketball player. Uh,
UNLV.
yeah, and he played in the NBA for a long time. Played for the Kings, Hawks, several teams, Chicago Bulls. Actually, I think he was 2-3 before Jordan was 2-3. He was wearing
Mhm.
2-3 there. And Reggie Lewis was excellent ball player. Uh, so and then he moved on to be the athletic director eventually at Bethune-Cookman, and he's
And
the
he's
head
back to head
basketball
basketball
coach.
coach.
He's
Okay.
he's a head coach and athletic director at Bethune-Cookman, and recently he's now hired Ed Reed. Bethune-Cookman has had a couple down seasons here. They do have a history of winning the MEAC conference. They're in the SWAC now, but they were in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, and they won a couple titles there. So they have a good history, and it is a private school. And Coy, Wacy, you guys could talk about the private school versus public school in a minute. But so to bring in Ed Reed was a great catch for that university. It's bringing attention. Some of the local shows I've been watching, listening to, they're excited about the Ed Reed signing. Ed Reed, for those who don't know, is uh, he's one of the greatest safeties ever in the NFL, and he is known around the football circles as a football mind. And you can already see now his approach is different than Deion's approach. You don't have the grand entrance. You haven't really heard nothing since it's been announced. And so we'll see how that all works out. But just to give everybody that backdrop there on the Ed Reed thing.
And I would say that Ed Reed actually, in far as coaching talent and coaching
Mhm.
circles, he's more respected than Prime is.
Very good
He probably
information.
he probably is, and he may have genuine intentions as well. But I gotta admit, I'm not falling for it. I'm not falling for this again.
No.
So, so you think Ed Reed is here for before he can land a
I,
job at
I,
another
Probably,
school?
Yeah.
probably.
I don't know. I'm just saying if Miami or Notre Dame or somebody come calling and he go,
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, let's be honest. Where did he come from? He came from being a consultant at Miami. So I mean, who knows?
right. So yeah.
But what I'm saying, what I say is, if he brings in that coach to see, I look at it as use them like they're going to use you. That's the biggest thing. If he bring
Well,
in that coaching,
why you want to use your HBCU, man? Why you want to use them?
because this is the I personally don't, but this is what they see it as. They're not letting me get these jobs somewhere else, and these people need this job,
Okay.
right?
They don't want you.
Yeah.
If they don't want you then,
No.
why they want you now? What's the difference?
I would just like to reiterate one more time, just one more time. I know it's a big conspiracy theory, but I know I am correct. Deion was right on the cusp of really, truly making a difference for
Mhm.
HBCUs. He was
And
right there.
when you say difference, what do you mean? Do
Oh,
you mean difference as in
Recruiting,
no? I mean
recruiting.
no. No, do
When
you
you
say
start
you mean?
taking the talent away from those
Let me finish. Let me finish the
guys,
statement. Do you mean that he was on the pivot of making a difference where he's going to compete with Ohio State, Alabama, LSU,
no.
Georgia,
I'm
or
saying I said, let me say what I said. He was on the cusp of making a difference because he was recruiting people to go to his HBCU that were really people who national teams, who a lot of the PWIs were interested in. That's how you really make a difference. You build a football
yes.
program out of people who are really good, and you're starting from the same foundation they're starting from, and you're going to be better equipped, and they can't ignore you. So what they decided to do was take him out of the ring, and they figured out, let's throw some money at him and he will go away, and he did.
Yeah,
That's what
he
happened.
had what? I
and to
forget. I
prove your
think I
point.
looked at the roster. He had like maybe three or four stars and five
Yeah, but
stars on that roster.
that number, the longer he stayed, that number was going to continue to double.
No,
And
my
Nick
point
Saban,
being, my point,
listen,
huh?
Nick Saban went in front of. He had a sit down meeting in front of
Because
his.
he had a fit about him taking something that he don't want. He took a kid
No.
that he wanted.
Okay, hold
Nick
on.
Saban,
Hold on. Let's go ahead, Waste. Finish that. Finish it.
Saban to Lacy's point about recruiting kids that some of the power programs won't. Nick Saban, I mean, I think we all might have seen it. At the beginning of the year, he went on this rant. It was mostly about Texas A&M. But while he was speaking about Texas A&M, he threw Deion in there. And I'm like, why is Nick Saban at Alabama worried about what Deion doing about one kid?
Because he started snatching kids he wanted.
Which goes back to what Lacy's saying.
No, I mean that goes back to being arrogant as an ass. That's being an arrogant asshole when you just used to having your way.
It's a business, and they decided the best way to make him stop doing that was to take him out of the HBCU.
There's other ways. What I'm trying to get you to understand, there was other ways to get Deion out. They didn't decide nothing. Deion decided to abandon y'all asses. Don't blame them for what Deion did. Y'all now we're making excuses for Deion choosing to take another job.
Well,
they didn't do anything.
I don't think the intention is to make it an excuse for Deion leaving. I think we all agree that Deion. That's why we're talking now. We don't. I think all of us on here have a disappointment level of what Deion did. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, that's very true.
But what can't be ignored, but what cannot be ignored is this: that Nick Saban, for example, he noticed something. He saw something happening that in his time don't normally happen.
He saw a new point.
Four or five star player going to HBCU school. You know what I'm saying? And he's going to stop that trend before it starts. Before it gets wrong.
Nick Saban's exact words was like, "How does a Division I kid of Travis Hunter's caliber go to Jackson State?" And last time I checked, Jackson State is Division I as well.
Yep.
Jackson State, but it's still
Division I now.
I don't even think they do the
double
one
double A. It's it's FSB, but it's a little bit
FCS,
different. FCS, they have 60 scholarships versus the 85, so it's a difference.
Nonetheless, Division I though. They're still Division I. Yeah. But he spoke as if they weren't Division I.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. So, it's like they were garbage.
Well, when you look at
like you're not supposed to go there. If you're this type of athlete, you're not supposed to go to this type of school. Whether it's Yale or anything, it's certain schools that you're not supposed to go to if you play at this level. And if you play at this level, these are the type of players that help somebody like Nick Saban make $8, $9, $10 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to have an issue with that because now he's going to get to his pockets.
All right, yeah. So that's not a conspiracy. That's
long term.
That's a fact of you don't want. Okay, if you're the top guy, you don't want new competition. I already got to deal with this normal competition I got.
Yep.
Now there's this new point of competition. That's just protective of your brand and what you got going on.
That's to the point though. The new competition was leveling the playing field, and he left. He left before he. Like I'm telling you now.
Do you think?
Hold on 1 second, Corey. 1 second, Corey.
Yeah,
finish your statement,
Deion Sanders and Jackson State would have eventually, if he had stayed the course, they would have been able to compete because of his aura. That he would have got the kids in there. He's showing you what he can do in year 1, 2, or 3. Yes, they would have been able to compete with Alabama and Ohio State eventually.
Right.
Okay,
if
Corey.
he had stayed the course.
So you think? So you asked my question. You think they would have eventually been able to compete?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not without the money that generated from them was other state programs.
They'll get the money once
they won't get the Lacy. This is what. Okay, stop. Here's the thing. Think about. Name the 5 biggest. You and Tyrone, TJ, and Kowacie and Lacy. Name the 5 biggest college programs in the country.
No.
Today.
Football wise.
Today.
From a money aspect or from a winning aspect?
Winning and money, whichever way you want to look at it. You can do both.
I'm gonna put Notre Dame in there, minus the winning.
Okay, Catholic Church. Go ahead.
UGA.
State
Alabama.
school. State
Alabama.
school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alabama. State school.
What's Jackson State then?
State school.
What is your point?
Not Ole Miss.
But what's Jackson State? Is that a state school?
Or
Mississippi State?
It's not Ole Miss. There's a particular reason why I said name them. They're the state school of that state. They get all the backing of the state first because they're the state's university, right?
Mhm.
That is why you're not going to get money. You can compete. Is even as when it goes to Stanford and when it goes to Georgia Tech and it goes to even the University of Miami down in Florida. They will always tell you we don't get the budget that Miami will never get the budget Florida got because it's the state school.
Okay, but
So
why
what
did
about
Travis Hunter choose
Why?
Jackson State then
They're
and
all
not
Because
so
Ole
Deion
Miss?
sold. Okay, well, first of all, he's from Georgia. So, and on the reason, the biggest problem in the state of Mississippi is that Ole Miss is Ole Miss. You got to think they just took down them flags about 6 years ago. No, it's been a little bit longer, but there's a point behind that.
Yeah.
And in the state of Mississippi, what I will tell you this is Deion could have won in the state of Mississippi and possibly got the top 3 or 4 recruits every year in the state of Mississippi just for the fact that the two universities compete against, he can compete against.
Mhm.
However,
so
on
so
the larger
Texas.
scheme of things, the biggest amount of money goes to the state school
But
first.
that so Texas is the state school in Texas, right?
They get the most money
But
too.
you was in the national championship.
yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's one offs. I mean,
Chris,
that's one
Chris,
off.
right, but so it
Oh,
can happen.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying if you stay the
That,
course, it don't matter. Like
Yeah,
but is
yeah.
Texas has when's la- but is Texas in the top 25 year
but
after year after year? So it
Floyd,
just depends on your breaks, huh?
Floyd, you have to understand that the state. I understand what you're talking about the state schools, but the athletic programs generally they get a budget that is not dependent on what they get from the state. They have
Okay,
Right.
all right, I understand that,
and
but
so when you have the better players going to places like Jackson State, going to places like Alcorn State, going to
Right.
places like Bethune Cookman. I'm just saying now you're going to get some of
I'm gonna
that.
ask you a question. I'll give you a prime example. When Miami and Florida State were the top 2 3 teams every year, you know they never received as much money as the University of Florida's football program.
So what? They
That
got
Yeah,
you
all
but
just
the attention.
to Lacy's point, you have things now in the athletic, like so Dion mastered this NIL stuff, right?
yeah, that's what he did. He's learning to get his NIL money together.
Yeah, so he's learned to do that to lure players where, like she said,
hmm
you don't have to worry about the state money, right? So players are
hmm
individuals. You got these kids, mostly black kids. Let's just be honest, who are the athletes, the 4 and 5 stars, who you
No,
can
no,
get.
no, 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 no. Let me tell you something. You know the biggest NILs are
Well,
non-black kids. So
No,
so
no,
they
no,
that's
no, no, no,
another
no, no, no,
that's another picture they
What is
paint. I
an
want to
NIL?
okay,
no,
we'll
no.
get back to that. We'll
What
get
is
back
an
to it.
That
NIL?
We'll get
Corey,
back
you're
to it in a second.
100%.
yeah. I just want to make sure everybody don't think that our kids are just out here trying to
No, no,
get
no,
the
no,
money and
no,
No,
run.
no,
What is
Oh,
no.
that's not
So
that's not it.
Lacey. Okay, let me tell Lacey what it is. It's called naming and license agreements.
okay?
Name,
So
image, and likeness.
basically, yeah.
Right.
So basically, now the kids can actually, whereas the teams could sell jerseys and do a lot of other stuff. And say you was number 5 and you was the starting team and everybody number 5 jerseys, the college only took the money. Well, now you actually can make profit off of your name, likeness, and your images, meaning you can basically create your own set of sponsors or make your own deals.
Okay.
legal way.
In
It's
other
a
words,
legal way for kids to get paid.
in other
Yeah,
words,
yeah.
you can still get
In other
paid.
words,
You getting paid
in
to
other
play
words,
legally.
if I owned a big car company in Alabama and Quincy owned a big car company in Georgia, me or him could run over to our universities and sign a name and a license agreement for $1 million for a kid.
Instead
That's
of
what it
So
comes
stick,
down.
instead of sticking a bag underneath the door.
Okay.
Yes,
so that's
and
Feel
the
like
issue
we're
with
getting
that
further afield.
one of the
Talking
one of the
about
issues with
Hold
the
on.
issue with that is it cuts out the boosters, so the boosters don't like it.
right. So that goes
Well,
back to
not so much the
Dion.
boosters, the athletic departments, and the head coaches.
Okay.
So that goes back to my point about Dion and his influence and the relationship he has. So now you have Dion go into this living room that only Nick Saban used to can go in, but
Right.
now Dion goes in there and says, "Hey, you're a top wide receiver. Not only can I get you an NIL deal with Randy Moss, but you also get to come play for me while Randy Moss and Terrell Owens at practice every day." So now that's more attractive to our kids who are in the hood or whatever, the
Yeah.
stereotypes that they put on them. And so now Dion is now luring those kids to Jackson State.
Right.
Like the NIL deals is like she said, that makes the state money and all of that, as far as the athlete go, irrelevant. Because
Right.
now I'm telling you, man, This NIL stuff is like big time. Some of these kids are making. Some of these kids are. Stetson Bennett for UGA has got $1 million NIL deal, and he's not even a professional.
He's not even the best quarterback in the state of Georgia. But anyway.
So Deion, what I'm saying is, he could have made a big change if he just stayed the course.
Yeah, he was on the right track. You know, but he took they threw the bait and he took it.
His son is signing an NIL deal with Brady. Like these kids, man. Like I'm telling you, man.
BMW and I mean another car that he signed with too. I think it's Mercedes or something like that. He signed a deal with another car dealer, car brand too.
He could have won at a high level, man. He could have. I believe eventually he could have, man.
He could have made that difference he was talking about.
Yeah.
Well, so he did make that decision to go to Colorado, and so I think we touched on it just for a second. But do you guys think that he will succeed at Colorado?
I do.
Do you think he will?
I do. I think he will because he's Deion. He got a gift of gab. He's gonna bring those same resources and mindset with him. And like Lacy's saying, you know, they took him away from the HBCU culture and brought him, you know, there. And so he gonna do the same thing because first of all, the conference ain't that strong.
Exactly.
Second of all, he's gonna get kids. Deion Sanders is gonna get majority of the kids he wants.
But he's gonna get the kids that might have gone to the HBCU and now they're gonna go to Colorado or where. You know what I mean? It's like it's not in their best. It's not necessary. It may be in their best interest in some ways, but he's hurt the HBCU culture just by him abandoning them the way that he did.
Do you all think that Colorado would have hired Deion prior to Jackson State? I think we know the answer to that.
No.
Yeah. So
now, Colorado is going to tell you that we've hired 3 black coaches in a row.
Yeah, which they have.
Hired one too. They hired 3 brothers to fire them. So yeah.
Yeah. So do you think that they did this basically because they noticed what Deion actually could pull off, even with no money, basically? You know what I mean? Like he's giving away his own salary, part of it. And the budgets are drastically different. The endowments in the schools are drastically different. I mean, it's ridiculous. You can just Google that and you'll see the difference, how drastic it is. But yet, I would say he probably had a better roster than Colorado. You know what I'm saying? Outside of maybe the linemen or the sizes of the linemen or whatever.
No.
But this was the backroom shit.
No.
How do I make this go?
There's a lot of post prospects that were in Jackson State.
I get all that. But you look at what TJ, Carol, I watched.
There's a linebacker right now that's leading sacks per game.
One. Right now. If you line up Jackson State versus the University of Colorado, they may be competitive, but Colorado will win that game 10 out of 10.
And that's my point. You got a team. But you got a team that's so much, the school that has so much more money over here, and the team that has so little money over here, and you just said that they'll be competitive.
You just asked me which roster was better.
Okay. Coy. If Jackson State roster with Deion just coached this past year plays against Colorado right now, what they just had, I think Jackson State will win that game.
You're thinking in terms of, because most of the time what y'all look at is these skill players. And Jackson State has the skill players that can compete. I give you that. However, when it comes down to what's going to win that game is you're going to have the same problem, which is why I say these teams shouldn't take these deals. And then front seven, you're going to have some kids get hurt. It's just a different animal. It is what it is. I've been the victim of sitting on the other side of thinking we're a really good team going against a superior front line, and it don't work out very well.
Corey, but you just said that they will be competitive, and that is saying that's huge. saying that they will at least be
No,
competitive,
that's
looking at the differences of the schools and the budgets and everything.
I
So
don't
I
care.
think,
I don't. No, nobody want to be damn competitive and losing.
but my
If
point
you lose
is,
10 games by 1 punch, you lose 10 games.
okay,
Shit,
that's fine on the field,
that's
but
not
but
Was
fine.
one year
that's
of it, and the
point.
other one was almost undefeated.
Hey,
Yeah,
I
Corey.
think,
In
I
a
think, I
football
think.
aspect, that is fine. You're right. You want to win the game, but what I'm saying is, if you look at the budget of Jackson State compared to the budget of University of Colorado, and the fact that we can even say that there would be a competitive matchup on the, at least a competitive game on the field, it's speaking volumes. That imagine
Okay,
if both teams had the
hold on,
same
hold on,
budget.
hold
What
on.
if both schools had similar budgets?
All right,
That's
no,
what
no, no,
that's
no,
what we're
no,
getting at
no,
about
no, no,
leveling the playing
no,
field.
no. What you're gonna say is, hold on. So basically, what you're saying is
Don't
the
even get
best
to
we.
play those schools.
Oh no,
Hold
Alex,
on.
we only can hear one.
Okay, go ahead,
So
Lacy.
so Lacy and then Coy, but go ahead.
No, I
Go
was
ahead,
just
Lacy.
saying that the system is so segregated, it's so broken that the HBCU schools don't even get to play against those schools. They don't. They're in a whole different division.
No, it's not. That's not why they don't play against those schools.
I said they don't get it. They don't get the opportunity to play.
That's not. Oh, they can get the opportunities.
Not on the same level playing field though.
I mean, oh, the field is the field, but
No,
who?
no, the level playing field as in the air quotes playing field of
Yeah,
everything that
why can't
involves
Colorado play
putting
Jackson?
the teams together. Yeah.
Because that's a us problem. That's us putting money into our own damn schools.
Okay, we're
I
gonna
mean,
get
let's
to
be
that
honest.
too. We're gonna get to
I,
Yeah,
that too,
I'm
Coy.
away to blame for that.
Leave that comment right there up because that's a good point by
Yeah.
Hot.
By hot tub. And hot
Yeah.
tub, Coy, can you do me a favor and send hot
got
tub
time.
send him my digits?
Tony.
All right, I will.
All right. So Lacey was just saying something about not being able to play. Corey, you had a comment on that.
Yes. So basically, what you're saying is the best of we can do is be competitive, and it's a win because we're competitive. Is one of the worst damn Power Five programs.
That's
Man, get
not
the
what
hell
I
out of here.
said.
Okay.
No, that's what
So
Tyrone was talking about.
Oh,
no,
okay.
no, no, no. So let me go ahead and let me respond to that, please. So what I'm saying is, if we just now today are saying that Colorado versus Jackson State will be a competitive game, and now let's look at the budgets of.
The
Well, let's
Jackson
look.
will lose.
My turn. So let's look at the budget of Colorado. We can look up the budget of Jackson State. And if they competitive now, imagine if both of them had similar budgets, similar pay scales for coaches, similar recruiting
Never know.
budgets, and all that. That's leveling the playing field. So only imagine if it's competitive now. Imagine if
We
Jack-
don't know what
Col-
it's competitive
imagine
at.
if Jackson State had the same kind of money budget wise that a Colorado has. That's all I'm saying.
What I'm
No.
saying is they don't ever get to play each other, so we'll never know.
Oh, they play. They play.
They
It is not good. Okay.
Huh?
But it would have been good if he had stayed. I
Yeah.
believe that.
It'd have been better. You're a basketball guy. There's certain things I know.
I'm a both guy.
Okay, well I put it like this: until we can get until these black colleges get the front set, the front 6, 9, what do you want to call it? They
The
can
trenches,
compete
in the trenches. I got you.
in the trenches until they can get that together. Because you can get the speed, you can get the speed on the corners, you can get all speed is the easiest part of a football team to build off of. To build, it is. Can we agree? It's that dang 6'3", 300-pounder that's a dancing bear that you can't find. And if you watch, just like when you watch recruiting, those kids, yeah, we hear about the Travis Hunters. Yes, we hear about all these different people, right?
Mhm.
But those are the ones that are more coveted than anything. They'll rather lose a Travis Hunter than lose what's the kid at Georgia, your defensive lineman?
Carter.
Idiot.
Well,
Yes.
Carter or
So
somebody or whoever.
well, we
Yeah.
don't get those. We don't get those. The black colleges are not getting those kids yet. That's where
Okay.
you're right about.
Okay. So
That's your
Corey,
point. That's your point. That's the point. Listen, that's your point
I'm
about
just
what black
saying.
colleges don't get.
I just want to say this real quick. I'm not. I don't want to cut you off. I want you to finish. But
Yeah, you do. You cut me off.
look, no. I'm just saying. I said I didn't want to. That's all. I just said I didn't want to.
Go ahead,
But
TJ.
you
Go
know,
ahead.
I'm pulling the Deion right now. I didn't want to cut you off. You know what I'm saying? But
Go ahead.
but but no, I get what you're saying, Corey. You on the field in the trenches, we're not getting those players. HBCU, so what can we do to get those players?
Of course.
Or why are they not able to get those players? Why is we use the Carter guy from Georgia, lineman, defensive lineman, probably all pro, built like, Greek god. Why did he choose Georgia, UGA, and not, Jackson State, for example?
Corey, answer that question.
Stay the course, man. Stay the course.
No, answer that question. He said, why did Carter not get? What did Georgia? Did Albany State? Did FAMU? Did any of those schools reach out to your son?
No, they did not.
Okay.
Yeah. And why did that? Why do we think they did not do that?
I don't know why. You need to ask them. But if they don't,
I'm saying, why do we think that? I'm talking about us as a panel right here. Why do we think they didn't do that?
Because they didn't have a Deion. They didn't have an Ed Reed. These guys that can make a difference. Like they didn't have a, when our kids see Nick Saban, they look at Nick Saban's body of work. They look at his resume and say, that guy can help me get there.
Mm-hmm.
They look at it. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Wes. Go ahead, finish up, Wes.
When they look at Deion or Ed Reed and these kind of guys who I feel they would look at and say, hey, well, I'm one of the top safeties in the country. Ed Reed is one of the top safeties. Maybe I can go learn under his tutelage. Same thing with Deion, best cornerback. And imagine if Deion says, Shannon Sharp, that's my homeboy. He's a consultant for Jackson State. If he gets Shannon Sharp to call the number 2 tight end in the country, he's gonna entertain that, right?
I don't disagree with anything you're saying.
Regardless of budget.
But that's why I say I understand what could happen if he stayed. But my thing is that she left. You can sit here and sing, and you can cry, and you can keep sweat all you want to. She left.
Hey, now hold on now. Keep sweat, my boy. Now, come on now. That's my boy right there.
She left, and there's nothing we can do about it. But let's talk about what she could have done. I think that's the
no. Let's talk about how we can get some more in there. How we can get this new one in here to get cooking. That's what we need to be. That's what
we're going to do that today. Yeah, we're going to do that today. Yeah.
Because my deal is this.
Let me tell you a slogan I use in basketball right quick. All baskets aren't created equal, right?
No.
So your 2 points might be 2 points, and my 2 points might be 2 points, but they might be totally different. You know what I'm saying? Like, all baskets aren't created equal, and I'm saying that to say everybody ain't Deion, man. Everybody ain't these guys with influence.
Right.
Even the guy who Deion spoke so highly of to succeed him at Jackson State. I don't even know the guy's name.
He fired that guy. I should tell you the caliber of person Deion is. He gonna tell somebody that he fired from his job. There, you gotta put him in charge. He demoted that man from offensive coordinator, then turn around and tell him, yeah, he should be your head coach. So, and this is the type of guy that y'all want to stick around and leave as your messiah. He dudes, man, come on now. The behavior is the behavior. That's all I'm saying.
All right, there it is. Behavior is the behavior.
This comment right here.
Right, go ahead, Wayne.
Appropriation of the hot tub, Tony. Comment. I think misappropriation of funds is going on everywhere. I
agree with you.
I think HBCUs are under such a microscope because they already ain't got no resources like that.
Speak, Quasi, speak. Because me and Tony had a 4-hour argument on the phone about this same thing. Tell it, speak. So I'm gonna sit back and listen now. Go ahead.
Yeah. So you're stealing from a smaller pot. So it's gonna be more noticeable than that bigger pot. But don't get it misconstrued. Misappropriation is happening at the PWI level as well. It's more, like I said, it's just more magnified on HBCU because I already ain't nothing there. Which what I'm saying is, like with Deion, who's brought the spotlight to it, like Hot Tub says, don't put the spotlight on it and then leave it. Keep the heat on them. And then once you keep the heat on them and we can pinpoint who's doing it and where it's coming from, I think that's how you solve the issue. You don't solve the issue by saying somebody over there stealing, man. I don't know who's doing it. Y'all gonna find out about it, but I'm gonna leave. But you right there in the house, you can find out who it is before I can.
Mhm.
So I agree with everything about the funds and all of that stuff. Like if the football team makes all the money, then you split it up between the baseball, the basketball. That ain't right, in my opinion. It ain't right. But that's where we got to start at, right? Because the
Yeah.
resources are already lacking. So let's start there, and then eventually let's work our way up to, hey, we don't gave you this out of our budget for XYZ amount of years. Now it's time for y'all to start getting your own funds. And we keep everything we bring in, but it has to start somewhere. And I don't think abandoning is going to change it. Like him leaving, you brought the spotlight, but that ain't going to change it. You said you got to help change this. Okay?
The
Those
level of the
issues
playing
were there.
field.
Those issues, the misappropriation, all of that was there before he got there. Like he always talk about, I did my research on this, research on that. Well, did you do your research on all of this misappropriation of funds and how they're allotted and all of that before you came? Like, why are you acting like this is a surprise?
He
Like,
didn't
it's not a
do
surprise.
research on what he said. He can't remember the stuff he said. Come on now.
Well,
Yeah,
of
all
course,
this stuff been existed.
Corey sitting back and listening to this. Hot Tub, you out there? I'm sure Hot Tub's out there.
Okay.
But yeah, this is interesting right here. Very interesting when it comes to this. And I think something that we need to do mention about Deion. He also in the SWAC coaches weekly meetings or Zooms earlier in, I can forget which season it was. Might have been this season. He talked about how, and we all know how this works in football. Those who watch it real close, early in the season, the bigger schools, air quote, play the smaller schools, and they pay the smaller school to come play the bigger school. And he was looking at the different payouts for certain schools. So, for example, Alabama State went out and played UCLA out in Los Angeles area, and I think they made like, I don't know, it was $700,000 or something like that. And he was like, that's a good number, but by the time you fly across the country, so on and so forth, and spend the money, you ain't made no money. He said, and then he looked at other schools as well, and he was like, but at the end, he said, how about we put together a committee, and I'll lead up the committee if nobody else does, because that's what I do. I'm paraphrasing a lot of stuff that he did say. And I was thinking, like, you know what? This is the kind of mindset that needs to come in here and help level playing fields. So maybe now when a school does play, like, for example, FAMU goes plays North Carolina or somewhere, the budget will be a lot higher. The asking price will be a lot higher to play them. Now you bring in more money for that school, and then you appropriate it throughout your budget. So those are the type of things that I think, for me personally, a person like Deion comes out and says this. He can do that. Right or wrong, he's the type of person that can say these things and make and start leading things in another direction when it comes to mindset. So that's the part of stuff that is got to be carried on from this point forward. But if he was still there, I think that would, something like that would happen even quicker too.
Well, instead of Alabama State going to play whoever you just said going to play UCLA, why don't they just play Alabama?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Jackson State, why don't you, instead of going across why don't you just go play Mississippi State?
Mm-hmm.
Have you not noticed something about Alabama? Just about Alabama. You know who Alabama will not play for one simple reason. Alabama won't play UAB. If you think about it,
Alabama, Birmingham, right? For those who don't know.
Yeah, the only team they play in the state of Alabama on a regular basis is Auburn because they can't help it.
And what do you mean by that, Clay?
They don't play this because Alabama has this philosophy. They're Alabama and we're bigger and better than everybody else in the state. We're not coming down. We're not stooping down to your level.
Those are good questions.
Okay, Clyde Marshall.
Yeah, with the budgets, why aren't those schools winning with the budgets? The schools that he's named, for example.
Because, you want to go by budgets. If you go in Texas, Texas has a bigger budget than Texas A&M.
Well, it looks like Clyde is saying schools like, let's say, Purdue, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, why they not win in Colorado with all this money they have?
Well,
and my answer would be, my answer would be that they don't have the players.
To me, that's
players.
that's
My
kind of
answer would
excuse.
be
It
that they
ain't
do
the
have
players. It comes down
Everybody
to
can't win. Somebody wins and loses every game.
no. It
TCU
comes down
doesn't
to,
have the budget. They don't have the same budget
but they
as
got a
Texas.
coach. Is like you say, all baskets aren't the same.
That's
All
what I think.
coaches aren't the same. When you get up to is the budget the same? Yes, then it comes down to the coach. I don't deny that.
So your answer to the question is the coaching, not the budget.
Yeah, exactly.
But
So it's fine.
yeah,
But the problem with
yeah.
Prime, so what you're asking? Why can't Prime do it? Because you got to have the budget to prove that you're the coach. Now, and my problem, I have no problem with what Prime could have done or not done. I'm just telling you, Prime did what Prime's going to do.
I think we're on the same page with that now.
Yeah.
Hot tub, I agree with that, man. I agree, man. Like, man, I agree. I agree. The funding and stuff like that, those issues have to be addressed first. I agree with that. How we get there, I don't know.
All right.
But yeah, I agree. We're not investing, man. I also don't think notable alumni and stuff like that are giving back as well. I don't think so.
All right. Cool. And when you finish, Wacy, Corey, you had a philosophy or idea on how we can answer this question, this comment that Hot Tub has, because most HBCUs don't invest in their athletic departments, which I've heard is true. We don't put the attention to winning games like other schools do. So what can we do to fix this budget issue?
There's 48 million. There's 48 million. So 40 between the numbers are between 40 and 48 million African Americans in this country, right? So let's just say that if we really want to care about it, right? You take every household or whatever you want to call it, every one of us put $10 into a pot, right? So that gives you about $400 million, right? You take it
somewhere in there, yeah. Oh, Corey, you still there? Corey.
Those athletic programs, and then you quote unquote can start building those facilities, stadiums, and all the other things. But on the same terms, you're going to have a mindset as far as the broader universities that they're going to actually do what they're supposed to do with the money. Most HBCUs, when these guys go take these money games and these kids become battering rams in blood sports, that money don't go back to that money goes back to the general fund of the school, and not those kids that went out there and sacrificed their bodies so that the money can go back to the university. So even when Deion said that $700,000 or whatever, the majority of the money don't go back to them kids that are getting tapped upside their head. So
right.
Because the dynamics, and in most cases at these universities, it's different than say these football schools. You can't tell me it's quicker. More people know Nick Saban than the president of the University of Alabama, right? But if you flip the table, I guarantee you it's not the same at most HBCUs. The president is king. Now getting to my guy talking about the budgets, yeah, but when you're saying they have budgets, but compare them to their peers, and we're under the understanding that TCU is an anomaly, and even with that being said, TCU is yet to prove that they can win a national championship with all the stuff going on. So, and it's once you get the money, then you start trying to find the right fit. That's why but see, the difference in the budget is if TCU is not, and TCU has oil money backing it. TCU can think about firing a coach and let him go, because guess what? I can fire this coach and pay him $5-6 million to get the hell on and go hire another guy with that same budget.
Okay.
Yeah. And Corey, you made a good point there. Oh, go ahead, finish out that. I was gonna make I will make a comment on
Oh
a
no,
good
I'm
point that
good
you
because
made.
I'm about to break up because I'm gonna pop through a bad sale. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll do that while you getting through that treacherous land. Uh, you mentioned a good point about TCU having oil money or something along those lines, and it just got me to thinking that means that TCU has something that that TCU developed, or however you want to look at it, that they created their wealth. And what you just mentioned about us putting money together, creating that wealth, which can then lead to the foundation of creating something for our own, if you will. And then that way, long term, you build something. Like, we may not be around to see it, but if we build something now to where we invest in the HBCU brand, and we're talking about this from a sports aspect, but just imagine if we all invest in it now. And I may not be here for another 70, 80 years, but if I am, I'll be able to see it. But one day, this could be like the big brand. It could be one day that people are like, man, I never knew that HBCUs were this far down. Like, all I know is HBCU teams are the best in the country and got all the best players and things like that. So it takes us to invest in our own sacrifice and start, building from the ground up and make it a viable product for the next generation or the next 2-3 generations from now. Like, for example, the Chicago Bears, $100 by the Hallis family or whatever. They invested that in the Bears. The Bears are worth billions now. You know what I'm saying? And so we gotta think more along those lines. And that goes back to part of why I was thinking, like, why Deion left is like, yeah, you left for $5 million a year, but to Colorado, that ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? But for the that's a drop in the bucket, because that $5 million they couldn't use. Well,
I don't
that
know,
five,
because they AD got on TV and said they also don't have the money yet. They're gonna pay him when they get it.
yeah, but then that leads to my point, Wasey, is that they know that if we invest this $5 million in Deion, we're gonna make that tenfold. You see what I'm saying?
We ain't investing
And
in nothing. This is how this Deion Sanders
well,
go. It goes that your top five alumni that's boosted your team came in and said, "All right, we gonna pay this last coach off. We want him, and you're gonna go pay him,
yeah,
and we're gonna go give you the money.
right,
Because if they could get
right,
Prime, they wouldn't get that money."
right. But that's what I'm saying, is that they have their foundation, they have their
HBCU
resources,
don't have.
and we're not, and we
Yeah,
have to look, like, we got to look further than just. I'm using Deion as an example. Leaving for that $5
but
million, yeah, that help you,
all right,
but
I got you. I hear what you're
I'm,
saying. I hear what
I'm not finished yet, Corey. 1 second. But the bigger picture is what he's worth is more than just that $5 million a year to the
Exactly.
HBCU program and the landscape, and it's going to be worth more than that down the line. If we continue to get bought out on stuff, we always going to be looking that we got to go here for it to be the land of milk and honey. Versus, let's create our own land of milk and honey, where now you can pay
you're
the coaches whatever you want to pay them and things like that. That's what we got to get to.
saying. I
But go
don't
ahead,
disagree. Their ice is not cold.
back to you, Corey.
Their ice is not cold. I totally agree with that. Their ice is not cold. I totally agree with you with that.
Yes, sir.
However, the other part of that you also got to, I mean, you had the conversation about when you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about these universities, there's so much other things going on with that university as far as fundraising and other things that,
Right.
like I said, that money a lot of times is quote unquote going to other places because
Yeah.
what they're gonna say is, why do I want a PlayStation when I got a hole in the roof? And then these ADs, I
Mm-hmm.
mean not these ADs, these presidents are not letting the money get down to these programs. That's one
Yeah.
of the problems.
Yeah.
So you can put as much money as you want. I donate every year to black colleges, and I went to a
Yes, you do.
PW White school, but I believe in
Yeah.
it. However, I can tell you now the majority of that money's not going to be going to the athletic departments because we are a small corner. Sometimes when we get into looking at things, you have to look at it from your perspective. In that sometimes you are a small microcosm. The majority of everybody's not always going to be a sports person. The majority of the person's not always going to be into your niche category.
So the majority of those
Right.
people at those black colleges that run these colleges that give a damn about these colleges, athletics is gonna be it's gonna be way down on the totem pole. So they're gonna be like, because you gotta remember, for all of us that love sports, there's a whole group of people that's like, it's stupid, it's just a game, blah 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 blah.
Right.
But
Right.
realistically, it's just much a game as you reading a book or whatever. Because if you buy a book, it generates income. You watch a sports event, it generates income. So whatever way it does it, whether it's leisure money, whatever money, it makes more money than it gives people jobs. So therefore, it's something to take a serious thought about. So anyway, just my
Yes, sir.
opinion.
No, very good. Very good take. Lacy, I'm gonna let you throw some things in here in a minute. Let's get some comments in because they're just rolling through. Clyde, we thank you, Clyde Marshall. His comments about TCU. They have one 5-star player. The remaining are 1, 2, 3, 4. Yet they shall. JSU, Jackson State University, has 1, 2, 3-star players. That's a comment there. Hot Tub is back in here about the misappropriation of funds. He said more treacherous. Let's see, that's out there. Hot Tub. Get it up there in a minute. But there's a lot of comments going back and forth. I'll make sure that they're out here. Ken Williams, how dare do people think white folks don't misappropriate funds? That's laughable. So they're in here making these comments. So if you all can see that, feel free to throw some comments in there on that. Lacy, I'm going to hand the mic over to you for a minute.
Well, I'm a little confused because we seem like we've gotten a little further afield than I was prepared to go. You know, we were talking about Deion and HBCUs, and now we're talking about budgets and like who gets what and appropriations. I'm just not. I didn't prepare myself to talk about that. I don't like to talk about things that I don't know anything about.
Okay.
And so all I can say is that the recruiter should use that. How many players in the SEC shall become selected to play in the NFL? Exclude our Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. Well, then it's 0. What I will say is that I saw a comment saying that the athletic programs are neglected at some level in HBCUs. Like why aren't they funded or something? It's like because they don't have any money. It's like
Exactly.
it's not that.
Preach.
Excuse me.
He's saying preach. Go ahead.
Well, no, it's that a lot of HBCUs. It's like they take a lot of pride in their marching bands and their football teams and their basketball teams because these people actually bring in money. It's like if you're an English major, it's not bringing any money except for whatever tuition you're paying. It's like these other activities actually generate some income for the university. So I don't understand the whole like the why aren't they funding them? It's like they don't have any money. they could like they were saying that Deion being a Jackson statement that they were having capacity crowds at their games, so they're making money. He's bringing attention and money and sponsors and all of that goes along with what Deion brings to the table. And as I believe that Wacy said that it's an intangible. It's like he's worth more than $5 million to them. Even though they couldn't afford to pay him that, he's just taken away such a big resource that he alone could bring in the way that he brought it. And so I don't know who the next guy is that can do that or will even want to do it because it seems to be a thankless job and it's just a stepping stone. And unfortunately, I think that he's done more. I won't say more harm than good, but he's done a lot more harm than he was expected to do.
Okay, and there's some more comments down here that we got to get in because there's some good stuff here. Clyde Marshall is also a JSU. He says he's a JSU grad. So, Clyde, I just want to throw this out there. TC Taylor is the new head coach, right? And there's a lot of players love TC. And he was a wide receiver or I believe at Jackson State. Then he went on to coach. I think he had a brief stint with the Patriots, and somehow maybe that didn't last long. But then he got back into coaching. He's coached in the SWAC. Then he circled back and coached at Jackson State. And now he's actually now the head coach, right? And there's a lot of players that love him. There's a lot of players that actually stayed. I think only 5 players actually left Jackson State. Maybe 5 or 6 actually left since Coach Prime has left. They also brought in a 4-star from the University of Oregon, who's now at Jackson State. They just brought in a 3-star quarterback that played at the University of South Carolina and at Virginia Tech. He's now at Jackson State. So it seems like there's a lot of positive things happening at Jackson State. That obviously, if Deion was there, it would be highlighted even more. But I think, the least I can do is on this platform, going to do more to highlight not just Jackson State, but Grambling and all these other schools too. We're going to do more to do that kind of stuff. And also, Clyde has mentioned that North Carolina Central is going to play UCLA in the fall of 2023. So that'll be interesting. And by the way, credit to North Carolina Central University. They beat Jackson State in the Black College Championship game in Atlanta. 49,000 plus fans were there for that game. And the previous year, South Carolina State defeated Jackson State in that same bowl game.
And Coach Prime was there too.
Yes,
and Coach Prime was there too.
Right, both years. So we need to highlight that it's not just Jackson State, but there's other talent out here, and I think the eyes were drawn in to see what's going on. But while you're there, now you can see other talent that is there as well. So, another good stuff. All About Motivation has a comment. You all can read it for me right there, Lacy, Coy, and give me your thoughts on that.
All the criticizing crime. This is from All About Martavian. All the people that are criticizing crime, why don't these same people come together and raise funds for HBCUs and do what they wanted crime to do? Okay, because why don't these same people come together and raise funds? He must be talking about celebrities or television personalities to come together and raise funds for HBCUs and do what they wanted crime to do. Well, Prime's the only one that can do exactly what he did. He has a very unique niche in all of this. His role is very specific, and his talents are hard to replicate. I don't know offhand anybody that brings the same type of energy to the table as Deion. There's just something about him that's quite electrifying, and he's unique and special, and he's taken those talents to Colorado, unfortunately. But as far as raising funds for HBCUs, it's like that was actually one of my kind of pet peeves about fundraising and things for HBCUs, because everybody seems to want to give to Morehouse and Spelman and Howard. But there are places like Fort Valley. Hold on. No. If they want to give to, because Howard, Spelman, and Morehouse have done the work to get these people to donate to them. No. Don't get it twisted. Those 3 universities have done a lot. When you're starting, first of all, you're talking about 40 to 50, and you throw Mahari in there, which is another one they donate to. You're talking about 40% of all black doctors in this country comes from those schools you mentioned, and about another 10 to 20% of engineers. So They deserve the money they get. We got to find more money. We just can't start blaming people for giving money to certain places. I'm not just thinking like I have never heard of these places. I promise you, I had a nephew that went to Morehouse, and Morehouse is very expensive. And a lot of people that go to Morehouse are not necessarily hurting for money. All these doctors and lawyers and stuff that graduate from Morehouse, their kids go there. So when somebody makes the beautiful donation of paying for the entire graduating class of 2016 or whatever, like you're paying for the most part for people who could afford it.
Well, Lacy,
and just hear
Lacy,
places like Fort Valley are full of children, of the kids who for whatever reason they want to stay local. They I don't know if they can't get into other universities or their parents are legacies. There's these smaller schools that don't get the money, that don't get the attention, and they're still HBCUs and they're still in need of support. But people overlook them because it's much more glamorous to donate to Morehouse than Fort Valley. I'm just saying that share the love.
My argument is
program.
My argument's always been there. But why do we have to take away one to give to another? All of them need the money,
You're
including
not
Morehouse,
listening, Coy.
including his family.
I didn't say you have to take away from one to give to the other. I'm talking about people who consider donating and they donate to Morehouse and Spelman and not anybody else. There's so many schools that are more in need than those schools.
But the rest of us should donate. Those can donate there. That's where they're doing something. So let's not knock what they're doing, and we find out the rest of them they want to put some money there, put it over in other places. Because what really happens is you explain. What really happens is the money stops. They don't donate it nowhere else. They just stop donating the money altogether. And then if that's the case, you should have just sent it to Morehouse.
You, Coy, but I'm saying like I'm just trying to put it out there for anybody that might be listening that wants to donate. The smaller schools generally need more help than the larger.
I agree with you totally.
So I
totally agree with you.
And I'm gonna give y'all an example. And I'm gonna give y'all an example on this topic right here. The point about that. Winston-Salem State University. They have a women's basketball program. The women's basketball coach has recently received money, donated money to her basketball program. And guess what she said the money was used for? She just said it was used for meals during the Christmas break. She said that was valuable to them because paying for these extra meals for the athletes, the student athletes on the basketball team was vital. The nutrition, things like that. And so that got me to thinking like, wow, this thing is deeper than what it really is. There's actually, student athletes that are looking to make sure they get fed properly and things like that. So yeah, I think if we could figure out a way to get the donated funds in and then they get appropriated where it needs to go, something like that, I think it would change the games. And Mike was saying here.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, T.
No,
okay. Michael says 67% give back to HBCU. He's referring to alumni, and he's saying that's a problem. I guess he was saying that number needs to be a lot higher when it comes to alumni.
It looks like he said 7%.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. He says 7%. My bad. Somebody donate to me so I can get some glasses. All right. But yeah, 7%. And he said that's a problem, and he's right. If that's the accurate number, which I'm gonna go ahead and trust Michael on that, and we thank Michael. And by the way, the subscriptions are coming in, and I thank everybody who's doing that right now. We definitely appreciate that. So please keep subscribing. Please tell a friend to subscribe. Keep help support and help us as well. We thank you for that. Hot tub.
And once a month, I'll come on the show to argue with Lacy. I'll tell you that. How about that?
I love it. 100%.
I'll pay to see that.
And if you'll send us some ideas about things you want us to, I will say argue, but talk about. Discuss. How about that? To discuss. But yeah. Wasey's back.
Wasey's back. He's in the fold. There's a lot going on here. I mean,
man, I you know how it is.
All right, Lacy.
We can do this every Sunday. I'm good.
We appreciate your dedication there, Lacy.
Yeah. My apologies, man.
No, you're doing great. We appreciate your dedication to the show today.
Tyrone will tell you.
Okay, so
Mr. 4-1 tell you I be all over the place. So there's nothing new for him.
Hey, Coy be in the woods, and he'll be on the show. Lacy's willing to get up extra early and do it. So yeah, we appreciate everybody.
Early means not before 10 a.m. This was
Yeah.
All right.
So y'all think about
great perspective, man.
Talk about.
Man, great perspective.
Yep. Yeah. So there's hot tub again, emphasizing that the budgets are not, they're not, isn't going to the school period, is going to the pockets of a few board members. He believes that the board members are utilizing some funds, so we have to fix those things too and keep that light shine on that, so we get that stuff straightened out. Clyde is a Jackson State alumnus, Kowacie, and he has a lot to say out here, and we definitely appreciate that.
Yeah.
So there's some things that he's laying out here right here. If y'all can see the comments. Lacy, can you read it? Can you read it so that Kowacie can keep moving in his direction?
Deion left because of Lamentations 4:18. It reads, "They hunt our steps." And then he says, "Remember, JSU had to take the state of Mississippi to court because the state withheld funding from JSU, ASU, I think that's Alabama State, and MVSU, Mississippi
Mississippi
Valley.
Valley.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so JSU had to take the state of Mississippi to court. Well, that's
Like I said, I'm pretty sure
Wow,
the
that's
issue was some behind the scenes stuff that kind of pushed him out. So I'm pretty sure it was like money and stuff like that. I also feel like it was very interesting. I don't know how the other coaches in the league, when that guy made the comment, Eddie Robinson Jr., I think it was, said he ain't swag or something.
yeah.
Like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know how that brotherhood was. Maybe some of those guys were a little bit maybe felt a little jealous of him or something like that. So they maybe
Of course it is.
wasn't as welcoming, So Deion probably coupled that with the funding issues and stuff like that. So you know what, man, I'm out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, of course
And,
they
you know,
did, and that's foul. That's foul on their part because he's not swag. Blah blah blah. They need to get over that crap too because they feel like, oh, you're just here for a publicity stunt. Blah blah blah. Whatever. And now I've been here. I've been in the trenches. Man, look, nobody want to be in the trenches. We all trying to get out the trenches. So that jealousy crap, that jealousy crap gotta go. You know what I'm saying? If the man is adding to your conference and all that other stuff, we don't have to. Y'all played a good game. They beat y'all. Keep it moving. But you're not swag and all this other crap. Man, go somewhere with that stuff. Be about because just by being vain and calling him we're not swag is just as bad as we're Deion walking out on y'all because is it about the HBCUs or is it about I'm tied to this? You don't care. At the end of the day, we shouldn't care who it is as long as we're giving back to the programs.
mm-hmm. And I would like to make
If it's beneficial to the programs, then it should be.
I would like to make one last comment about Deion because one thing, and this is on a serious note. I mean, not that we haven't been, but I think maybe some of his reasoning was that he actually encountered some health issues during the course of his tenure at Jackson State that may have impacted his decision that like I need some more money, because he had some surgery.
Oh, go ahead, Lacy.
But
Did you finish,
Deion's
Lacy?
about his brand.
Okay.
He's never not about it, but it's like a reality check. He's in his 50s and he's got blood clots and he had surgery. He lost some toes. He lost some calf. It's like you have health issues now that maybe factor into your decision. So, but you didn't say that, but I'm just saying.
But we all can kind of speculate, and that's what we're giving our best thoughts on it.
Well, Deion is welcome to call to chime in and let us know his thoughts.
Oh yeah, the doors are always open, like at church. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Church doors are always open. So JE, wow. So you guys actually think it's better if Prime never even came? I'll let the panel answer that one.
I think he had his season. I think I'm the one that says he did what he came in and built off of what he left behind and F him. I don't care. I mean, is it better? Yes. He created opportunity with his camp. So you can't say they're worse for wear. However, on the same token, because I think out of the three of your panelists, I'm probably the one that's more lenient to him leaving and don't see the problem with it as much as others do. But I will say this. It's not. I don't think my other two panelists have a problem with him leaving. It's way he sold out those. It's you can't say it don't feel bad and it don't leave a bad taste in your mouth. The way he came in saying one thing and doing another, which I totally agree with them about. However, he is what he is, and nobody's gonna say that he is a bad thing because, as we mentioned earlier, because he came, others see this as an opportunity. So therefore, we're not going to say it was good while it lasted, but we're just like Lacy said, the mill's half 80. I honestly, going back to that, I honestly believe that this was always part of his plan to bounce on. But I think the process of him actually getting a better deal, or him feeling he get a better deal, or whatever else he got going on in Colorado, because I'm sure there's more to it, came quicker than he probably initially thought it was going to be on his time scale. So his time scale quicker. So he jumped on it. He jumped on it while it was there, because you can't guarantee the next couple of years when it's here. But if he goes, and his logic is, I can go because Deion is a supremely confident individual. I can go to Colorado, do the same thing, and I can move on up.
Okay.
End goal is not just Power 5, it's Power 10, top 10 programs in the country.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to be that guy that won a Super Bowl. He wants to be that guy that won a national championship as a coach. Okay. And I assume if he wins, if he gets lucky enough to do that in football, don't be surprised all of a sudden now the NFL is on the table all of a sudden, because it's all about my brand and my legacy.
But personally, I believe that Jackson State is better off for having had Coach Prime. I don't know that the HBCU community is better off, but I do believe that what he's done for Jackson State is something that they're going to be able to build on. They got new facilities. He brought attention to the program, and I think that some of that will stick. But as for the rest of the HBCUs and building them up, I think that he hurt that whole community.
Okay.
Some of these comments like, if you don't want to hear, why you watching? That's how I feel about that. So you know what I'm saying? Like,
welcome to the Paradox. Clancy, you gotta understand, when you step out on these mics, it is what it is. It ain't like in the street, brother. You understand that? You just let it be what it is.
And you know what though? I mean, I get it, because it's like, hey man, how many different ways you could talk about it, but when you really look at it though, it's important to talk about this, because it's not just about the game. It's not just about that. It's deeper things. And a lot of people have different perspectives and ideas. Like just like today, actual Jackson State alumnus was on here making, giving some information that's valuable.
I'm gonna say this to our wonderful host right here. Hey, if you got a topic, you feel that there's a better topic to discuss, present it.
Yeah.
And knowing the way this man is, he'll talk about it. But this is something that he feels passionate about. So he's going to have the conversation. Now, we're not telling you that we're not telling you don't have to be here. We're not telling you anything like that. But what we're saying is, just like you're allowed to have your opinions and you want to have conversations, sometimes, I know I'm a married man, sometimes when I think the conversation over, it's not over. So it is what it is, brother. Just because you're done with the conversation, don't mean she's done with it, okay?
Yeah, right. And also some of the panelists, there's more than one panelist. I can't get everybody on at one time, so there's things that need to be aired out. And like I know Kowacie has some things he wanted to get off his, get out there in the air, and so did Lacy, and Coy had different versions of things that he wanted to bring out as well. So that's why we continue to do this, and it's important because, like you say, it's a bigger picture. Wacy, I don't know if you was there. Did you hear about the Winston-Salem State coach, the women's coach, and how there was money donated to her basketball program, and she utilized that money to pay for meals during the Christmas break for her players because they were in need of food. They were in need of good nutrition. And so, like, this thing is deeper than just, Jackson State football or whatever. It's a whole lot of teams in programs that need help. And so we're going to try to figure out a way to either shine a light the best we can or donate the best way we can or help with solutions. So, I actually sent something to Snoop Dogg on social media requesting that we get together and put together a plan. I haven't heard back from him, but I did send it out there. And somebody did comment about that saying, yeah, we should do that. That's a good idea. So, we're going to do the best we can what we got as well. Somebody did put a good question out there that we need to comment on real quick. Why some of the players go with Coach Prime?
Because I'll speak from a player's perspective. You're going to follow your coach. If you have success under a coach,
That's why the transfer rule was in place. If you're gonna have success under coach and his system works good for you, the odds are you're more apt to follow that coach because it's gonna be a better fit for you, and that's what he did. That's why.
I want to answer the question about do we think he should have never came or something like that? What was up at first?
Yeah.
I think he should have came. I think he shined good. Put a good spotlight on him. My only concern is us using HBCU as a stepping stone. You know what I'm saying? Like I kind of have an issue with that. I don't necessarily agree with that approach. You know,
I got you, but it's more to come. I mean, y'all buckle up because there's more to come because now that it's shown that if you're successful at these universities and you can build a program, they're gonna do it. I mean, it's just is. There are gonna be those that stick around, but on the same token, there are gonna be those that we're gonna wish they would leave.
Aren't there other methods to go show you can build a program than at the HBCU?
Well, what do you think Urban Meyer did at Toledo and all these other? It's the same game that we tend to think. I know you would. I would too, but we are just as American as mom apple pie. What we do tends to be the same thing as the rest of this place do. So we're no different. We have this love affest about I'm black and I'm proud, but when you look at it, when it all comes down to our movements and what we divert ourselves to is the American way in more cases than not. There's always exceptions to the rule.
All right. Yeah. Well, look, we got plenty of people watching and commenting. So I would like for the people that's out here watching, you have any ideas on the solution, what will make HBCU sports better, post that out here as well. And also post out here, was you in favor of Coach Prime leaving or staying? You know, you put that out there as well. All right. So I think we covered a lot for today. Yeah, we covered a lot today. I think it was needed, and we'll continue to do so. I thank everybody for that's tuned in as well. Make sure you all hit that subscribe button. As I said, I see some of them coming through, and I'm going to subscribe back to your page as well. So please continue to do that. We definitely appreciate it. Wacy, I know you stepped away for a minute, but do you have any more comments or anything you want to put a bow on for today?
Nah, man, I think we're good, man. I think it was good dialogue, man. Good, good perspective and all of that.
Yep. All right, what about you, Lacy?
Hey, Deion,
go ahead, Wacy.
I think we said everything that needed to be said.
Somebody said JSU didn't do anything for Prime, but they gave him his first head coaching job when nobody else was.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. They gave him an opportunity to get promoted. I mean, well, we won't say promoted. They gave him an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely.
Marshall on next week.
well, didn't Coach Prime also get his degree from HBCU from Talladega? And you need to have a degree to be a head coach. So I think HBCU really helped them double there.
Yeah.
And I will say this too, Kowacie. You mentioned about the stepping stone. I think in fairness, I do think like teams do, coaches do go to certain places and then they go to this one. But I do agree with the fact that, again, why does HBCU have to be a stepping stone place? Why not make HBCU the place to be? And maybe that's something that we need to look at as
what he was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah.
To answer that question right now, the HBCU in this case was used as a stepping stone because nobody else would hire him. Jackson State hired him.
However,
and in my opinion, he used them knowing all along that he was going to leave. He used them to show what he could do as a head coach.
Right.
Exactly. He used them to show them that he could build a program. And honestly, if you really think about it, HBCU is a great place to go to show that you can build a program because because of the financial restrictions and the other stuff that goes along with building a program at their schools, if you can be successful there, is a good sign that as another school or whatever, that I want this coach here, because if he can build it there, imagine what I can do with resources. It's like that kid. It's like that kid that you see that come in that all of a sudden he goes to college and gets 3 square meals a day and he grows 3 damn inches. Imagine what you can get when I give you everything you need to do what you need to do. So,
and that's
what it is.
So why didn't Colorado hire Deion 3 years ago for all of these?
Because he was an unproven. Come on.
This is I got a question for Wise One. Why didn't Colorado hire Deion 3 years ago before Jackson State? You ever thought about that?
Good. Interesting.
Yes. Well, it's been a wonderful Sunday morning. 2 hours later.
That's good. It's gonna re-air and everything. So, man, I mean, but all these comments are rolling in. It's making you think even more when these comments come in like that. So, and think about this, ladies and gentlemen. The economy was boosting, was blown up in Jackson. They're always going to have a good fan base. That we need to make that known. They've had a tremendous fan base even before Coach Prime, and they're going to have one even after Coach Prime. And so let's not forget that they're getting players in there too right now as we speak. They got a quarter. They brought in a 4-star from the University of Oregon. So
let's not forget that Jackson State has one of the higher attendances in the conference. So. Yeah,
and actually, beyond the conference, like they actually outdo some SEC teams and some other conferences too, with attendance. So yeah, it's very good. And man, could you imagine though that Bethune-Cookman Jackson State game this year, Coach Prime and Reed? Man, that would have been something else there. Still gonna be happening, but that would have been some more fire there. And
support and love for that.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, we're going to get these comments in here. Thank everybody for watching. Yeah. Remember, please hit that subscribe button. Please share. Sharing is caring. And it definitely helps us out. And we'll get some more content out here. Okay. We'll continue to talk in the chat. All right. All right. So we're out of here for the day. We thank everybody. But we'll continue this over there in the comment section of the YouTube page. All right. For Lacy, Kowacie. We out.
Yeah.